and welcome. My name is Blood Paint Bob, and welcome to the joy of Warhammer painting. Now, to start off, we're going to be painting this little beaky, the ultramarine. But for what you're going to need for this is a cup with water and some paintbrushes to wash your paintbrushes in. You're also going to need some ultramarine blue, some type of tan or brown, some white, some red, I'm using metallic red, and some trim gold, brass, or silver. Again, we're going to be painting this beaky boy from the ultramarine regimen, but you can do it in different ways. My personal favorite is rattle can, but I have an airbrush now, so it's a lot easier. I would suggest going to your local hardware store and getting some blue ultramarine paint in a rattle can for acrylic paint. Also, don't forget to pick up acrylic paint of blue ultramarine for later. Now, starting off, we're going to use the gold to do some trim work. Nice and easy, nice and slow, not too fast, not too hard. Making sure that every brush stroke is nice and easy. Now, making sure that this is a nice, even coat. You're going to go back and do this about 1 or 2 more times, depending on how well you want this to look. Apologies for my cameraman. He's now not living due to the fact I fed him to some squigs, because he couldn't keep focus on the ultramarine mini I was painting. But no worries, I made sure to make it as evenly possible on everything, including the mini. This is where I ran into a little bit of trouble, and you will too, getting into those little nooks and crannies. I once knew a guy who knew that you were supposed to paint them before putting them together. Well, that made no sense, so I told that git he needs to get his head on straight. You're supposed to put it together, then paint. But for those that want to do the opposite, I won't say nothing to you. To each his own. Now, what you want to do is make nice, easy, layered brush strokes. Easy and nice, not too much, not too little. Even if you overbrush, it's not a big issue. You can go back and repaint it with some ultramarine blue. Getting the other side as well and making sure there's a nice, even coat on all of it. As you can see, somewhat, I did a little bit of overbrush, and that's not too good. But it don't matter, because I can go back and redo some of it later. As you can see, right there, overbrushed. Ugh. But it's fine. Now then, when you get to this point, you're going to be a little bit discouraged. But don't be, because it's not as bad as you think. You just need to make sure you do it nice, even, and slow. Don't have to go too fast, don't have to go too slow. But just where you feel comfy. Now then, with that being said, we're going to move on to the back of the pauldron, because there's a spot, but you need to wash your paintbrush. Now, getting some white, you can go in and get this little git nice and coated. Now, I may or may not have messed up and used a little bit too much white on this. And you will probably too. It's not a big issue. Again, I say this, you can just go back and repaint. That's the beauty of it. They're minis, you can repaint them. You don't have to save every little git. But as you can see, I kind of panicked, and then it led to, well, this is pretty much what a lot of you probably will be doing, which is grabbing a cloth or some type of paper towel and trying to rub off the paint. Don't do this. doesn't look good, looks kind of bad, and it's not as good as you think. But there's an easy way to fix this, and that's with the ultramarine blue that you already have. Now you might be saying, how's this supposed to help? Well, first off, we need to go back and do what we need to, which is to wash your paintbrush. Now, once you have that taken care of, now you can move back over, grab some ultramarine blue, and go back and repaint the spot that got a little bit too much. Now, in the flip of a wrist and a nice little coat, you get that. As you can see, it's painted over all the white and looks nice. Not too much, not too little, just the right amount. You can also use it at this time to go over those little spots that your rattle can or your airbrush didn't quite get. Yeah, that's good. Now, again, I say this to you all, don't forget, once you're done, don't wash your paintbrush. Now, when you get done with that, we're going to move on to the little Daka's home. So we're going to get some browns and make sure we get a nice even coat on top of it. You don't need it to be too much, nor too little, just the right amount. Don't overpaint and don't overbrush. I'm joking, of course. We can go back in like we did earlier and just repaint. Now, right now is where I just realized this is not the right type of paintbrush for this. This brush is for detail work, but not this small. That's why we move on to the littler one. Now, you might not have a little brush like this. No problem. Take a brush that was similar to the last one that you probably have in your little pack for about 2-3 teeths, and cut off the little bit of it just so that way it's a little bit finer. Now you can get into those really hard to reach spots with no to little effort, and you can also make sure it looks nice. There you be. Make sure you get all the little crannies, not to mention underneath. Yeah, right there. Now, once you have this all set and done, you want to do it at least a couple times, but since you gotta wait for it to dry, why not move on? I mean, it's only natural, isn't it? So, we're gonna move on to the pouches on his right side. Grab some more brown and get to it. Nothing to it, as I say. Now that you have everything nice and neat, you need to make sure it looks not too bad. Oh, overbrushed again. That's fine. Little accident, we'll fix that in a minute. Getting to it though, you want to make sure that there's a nice little spots. If you get something like that and are able to, you actually can use your own finger to clean it up. Wouldn't suggest sitting just to wait for the paint to dry. That's a little bit of a pro move. Nah, but seriously, wait till it dries and just repaint it. Not a big issue. Moving on to the big Daka. There's a belt on it, so we need to make sure it's also tan, or at least looks tan. With it, you want to make sure that it's nice and even coats. You're only going to need one, not two, not three, just a nice even big coat on top of it. Why? Well, you don't need it to look grand, it just needs to look good. And then my old Moz once said, things that look good always look good. Don't need to look great, just look good. Woolbot Thatcher said that. She was alright. As you can see, I also got a little bit on the gun. I mean, Daka. Oops. I don't know where that came from. As you can see, I got a little bit on the Daka, which isn't a big issue. All you have to do is make sure that you don't get as much as you need. Now, moving on. Once you get the layers right, you can move backtracking all the way to the others and get another coat onto them, making sure they look nice and pristine. Yeah, look at that. Pouch just gets a nice another coat and looks pretty darn well. That Daka's home looks goddamn gorgeous, don't it now? Now, with that being said, we do need to move on to another part of this. After we get this nice and neat, give a little bit more brown onto that belt, we're going to have to go ahead and make sure everything looks nice and spiffy. And it does. And wash our paintbrush once again. Moving on, we're going to grab some white. You can actually use and choose what colors you want with this Docker's pistol grip. But I prefer white because it gives it a nice little tone and it differentiates. You know, contrast and all that. But with that, it looks nice, it looks even, it looks sexy as Docker can. Oh, makes me want to make another Docker. Ooh. But anyways, once we get done with this, you know what time it is. It's time to wash your paintbrush and make sure that everything is nice and neat. Moving on, we're going to grab some more brown again and go into his cloth between his legs. We're just going to do one nice glaze brush of it. We're not going to go too deep. You can if you wish, but I say that it looks good with just one nice little coat. Oh, overbrushed again. Yeah, we'll get it back in the later days. Again, overbrush or underbrush is not a big deal. You can always go back and fix it later. Now, looking at this, you might be saying, but I want it to look a little bit more like a cloth. Well, it's fine. Just keep it up. Do another layer or two and you'll have it nice and neat. Now, once you have it to the way you like it, I would suggest waiting, and if that's the case, go to the back side and do the other end. I'm going to grab some more brown and make sure we get it nice and coated. Again, you don't need to have the right type of color that I'm using. I like folk art, but that don't mean that you have to. Plenty other people like Citadel, Army, or even hell, Apple Barrel. What the hell did I just say? Yeah, don't matter. As you can see, I saw some spots I didn't like and reused some of the others from the other paint to clean that out a bit. Ah, shoot. Overbrushed yet again. I'll get it later. Now, once this is all taken care of, as you know, wash your paintbrush. And make sure you get ready, because we're going for the Docker. This shooter we're going to paint white and red. Why? Because we want to go fast. We want the bullets go faster. More Docker. Sorry, lost in translation. Anyways, you're going to take some white and get the barrel nice and clean. Again, you can actually use silver here, or some type of metallic silver, or even gray if you want. But me personally, again, I like the white. It gives a nice contrast to the gun, and gives a nice overcooling of it. Whatever that means. Heard it once, liked it, kept it. Anyways, after you get this nice and neat and get all those nice little crevices, move on to the bottom portion. Don't worry about getting the top or the magazine covered in white. We're going to be covering in red anyways, so it doesn't really matter. Here, I'd do a nice little coat, but then I'd get a little bit too quicky with the brush and, accidentally sprayed his finger. Oh well, again, we'll get that later. It doesn't need to be right now. As I get the coat going for the rest of it, I realize I didn't get the underside. So, make sure you also get the other side and the bottom as well. And here we go with the other, and there it is. I did it again. Again, no worries, we can go back and do that after we get the cleanup. This is where it gets interesting. After you're done painting a bit, you might want to keep going. But my suggestion, once you're done painting almost all of it, go over here to his knee and do a little bit of what we call dry brushing. It's not really, but it gives you the idea. You're making the bristles hit a certain raised area to make sure it gets painted besides the rest of it. It's nice. But I'm an idiot and I thought there was something else there with it, so I kept on hitting it. Like the dumb git I am, I accidentally hit it too much, and well, yeah, gonna have to clean that up. This is basically what it would probably look like if you overbrushed too much of it. So, Oh, fair. We'll get back to it. Now, with all that, you got the white looking nice, so I think it's about time we move to the red. But before we do that, you know the drill. You need to wash your paintbrush. Now, moving on, we got the red here, and I actually really like it. But the problem is, it's needing a lot of layers, which I know you don't want me to sit here and just paint and paint and paint and paint on one specific layer again and again, so here you goes. We made sure we got enough on it so that way it at least looks somewhat decent. We're going to go back and hit it with a bigger glob later, but right now it's looking pretty good. So, we're moving on to most of it and getting most of the red complete. Now, we're moving on to the magazine, and as you can tell, the magazine is looking pretty good. Still got that brown on it though, so we want to make sure we get a nice, good layer on there to get rid of it. You don't need to worry about it looking good. Not about the destination. It's about the journey. And also, it doesn't matter how your minis look. I know from experience that a lot of people would be up in arms saying, it's about how it looks, but it's not. Don't forget to get those little crevices here and there, and also to make sure to get a nice coat on that. Looking good. Now, as you can see, I got a little bit more paint than I should have, but that's not a big issue. Spread that paint out. Don't go in for another. Just use the paint that's already there and thin it out yourself. A lot of people don't realize you can actually thin paints whilst also painting. It's actually quite ingenious. Nice little trick that, I believe his name was, Orkmo Pacamo or something of that nature, basically came up with that idea. Now I saw that I forgot the top of the drum, so I'm going in and making sure it gets a nice coat of red. There it is. Nice. So, look at that. Looks nice and neat. So, now we have to do some cleanup work. But before that, we have to wash our paintbrush. Now that we have some ultramarine blue, it's time to do some cleanup. And whilst we're doing this, I want to make something perfectly clear. This is the first episode of Blood Paint Bob's Joy of Warhammer Painting. I just want to tell you, and to everyone here, you don't have to hate on how I paint these minis. This is how I do. This is how I see, and this is what I think looks good. And to everyone else, yes, it looks the way you choose it to be. You don't have to make it look pristine. It doesn't have to be God tier. You're not trying to win a mini contest. You're just trying to paint your minis. You got hundreds of them, so you need to make sure you get back on to the next. But try not to make them look just like you threw slap bashed and everything together. Make it look at least somewhat decent, like we're doing now. I mean, hell, it doesn't take a lot to make a mini look good, but it does take a lot to make a mini look bad. But hey, my name is Blood Paint Bob, and this has been the Joy of Warhammer Painting. I must say to you all, it's been a pleasure and an honor, and I say to you, good luck and see you next time. Goodbye.